As our last adventure closes up, heading back from the lovely Scarwall, after we set up some minor defenses to keep it from being raided once more, gotta keep them pesky orcs from being a troublemaker when we need them, we head into town, where we find out there's a full-on rebellion going on. Doubts against the queen finally pushed out in the open as the rebels are finally come to light. Why they haven't been really helping us in this process, I don't know. But we draw in closer to Castle Corvosa. As we travel through, we meet some of the more head rebels, our friendly friends that give us tasks. Of course, mostly just to prove that the queen is not quite the saint she pretended to be. As we head there, one of the first things we run into, and probably like extremists to go for, we run into the new hero, a false man claiming to be the hero of Corvosa, and pinning, smearing, and blaming us for all unfortunate things. Well, he just doesn't really care because he probably did most of the bad things, so welcome to the unconfirmed bias of he's not exactly a good guy. As we arrive closer and closer, we hear his voice stop us. Angered at our current climate, he demands to give us justice. A crowd of onlookers arrive, help him to prove his point. Starting combat, we notice a shift in downturn. He's not exactly human, as they see, but noticeably an Ifriti. The man decides the first thing he wants to do is tell the paladin that he is ruthless as is and to go ahead to hell. And as a moment of probably most hilarity, the paladin vanishes, leaving us almost baffled that he failed. Biggest time you roll one to see someone just go short a party member isn't a big deal. But we engage in combat. His friends he brought along weren't exactly tough, and he barely makes it out of his life. And he teleports away, thoroughly bleeding from the large gash upon him. He didn't make it. Just to get that out here, he made it back to the castle, called for help, and was found a corpse at that point. Well, not really a corpse. He is an outsider, so he kind of just disappeared, leaving his stuff behind. Needless to say, we finally arrived towards the footsteps of it. As what arrives as we come in, of course, towards the climax of every adventure, on top of the already dragon we've met, the second dragon, but the one that we can't avoid for any reason. Arriving in, roaring, maddening, and screaming, his excitement from flying over the city of torturing civilians thoroughly goaded. And, noticeably on top of him, we see a familiar face. Sabina, the queen's, I believe she's just the lover of her, is riding on top. As we kick off combat, dragon itself took very mighty blows from the barbarian, his strength unbound at this point. Most combative circumstances, he wins cleanly. Striking down the dragon as Sabina has been trying to interfere, to much her dismay, falling off combat. She turns tails, heading back to the rebellion, disclosing that she was always been a traitor and decided to help us out. Heading straight to the front door, as the Greetus loves to do. The barbarian in tow, we arrive on the scene, and several maidens tied up in the archer towers firing down at us, and at the end of the hallway with his lovely friends guarding him, is probably the chubbiest mage, a bloat mage, Togo Moro. He wasn't exactly the most threatening, and after a nice chain lightning spell wiping out all his friends, Togo was left defenseless to be cut down by the barbarian himself. Probably the funniest, squishiest noise you ever see. At the same time, the Grey Maidens have made a very nice upgrade. Clearing that off, we head straight back in, Togo being blown down very quickly. Arriving inside, we quickly travel through it, and of course, first thing we run into is is Queen Elosia. Although not the true one, most of the actually only one person in the party recognized that this is not the normal queen. Guarded by her Grey Maidens and a couple hellhounds, and at her side, a royal mage. Shortly enough, dealing with actual value in combat, the mages being struck down, the hellhounds being blasted away. We strike quickly and powerfully. Oh, I need you still. The hellhounds struck down fairly quickly. The Grey Maidens, not much better. The queen herself struck down, collapsed into a blood pool, almost baffling to us, as it's recognizable as a Sinacum spell. Now, combat happened, and a mind control spell over the royal mage made it very easy to control her. A new and very useful ally throughout the rest of it. We head upstairs to seek out more treasure, because that's just how we roll. Roaming around, mostly dealing with Grey Maiden guards, because they're plenty and few. Meeting into a room where we run into a Belialer demon. The barbarian roamed off on his own, chasing some guards, leaving us to confrontate with him on our own. First round of combat, beaten into an almost unconscious state, and falling straight down onto us for it. As a fun idea to go with, we set up a contract using a bind planar ally spell, offering the queen's soul as tribute to gain his assistance. Very welcome to it, he wanders off with us, returning to his planes to prepare to help with the final battle. Of which later we find out that he had minions hiding around. Convincingly, we tell them of the contract, and they fittingly leave for us. Beyond that, most of the castle is fairly empty because the biggest event isn't here. Heading up to the next floor. Well, I don't even want to describe going up and down this place. The castle is crazy. Next, we find, I think this at this point would be the 4th floor? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the 4th floor, where the lovely red Mantis assassins are hiding out. Given the floor to do as they please, we step in and finally see the most failure of failures. Being jumped as crippling failures that they are, natural ones out all through the process of striking. The barbarian thankfully made his way back to eventually help, but for now, we're just left with the war priest, the greedist, and the paladin. Swiftly taking them down, we find our way poking and prodding at stuff. Probably the funniest turn of events, considering we've knocked one of them off, the Rod of Wonder doing its magic, watching him fall off the balcony, it's slapping into the 3rd floor, laying dead as at bottom. Reaching the tippy tops, the towers are controlled by more gargoyles and a chain devil. Actually, I think it was either way. The devil controlling the top, swiftly taken down as he approached. We find the ghost of Venister, I believe it's the half-brother of the king. trapped and punished through it. His soul being stuck here until he's released with his body from the bottom of the mortal coil. Heading down to the basement, it's sadly uneventful, more or less because the trap that triggered was based off light. And as with most of the party, we had the loveliness of blind sense. Thankfully, the paladin was skilled enough to actually make his way out. But from here, our reward for solving our problems is shown above. I believe there was even a church, but that had so little in it that it didn't even matter in the end. So little that even the book doesn't recognize it. I think it might have been the entrance we were supposed to use versus the entrance we chose to use. But as we find out from Vinister that she's not even in the castle. She has gone off to prepare for the ritual. It's what's known as the Sunken Queen. And we ready ourselves and head out to the final battle. As always, I will see you next time. Bye bye!